Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavad-gita as it is, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, founder Acharya of ISKCON. Trividha samprakirtitaha. Prabhupada in this purport points out that there are differences of opinion about renunciation. Not only are there differences of opinion about renunciation, there are differences of opinion about everything. Therefore, we have to refer to some authority to find out what is the proper course of action. The best authority is the Vedic literature. The Vedic literature is like a manual of how to use this material world. I think I gave that example last time I was here. Just like Prabhupada gave this example, just like the microphone, when you buy a microphone, you get a manual how to use the microphone. Right. So similarly, along with the creation of the material world comes the books about how to live in it and use it. That is called the Vedic literature. Now the Vedas are meant for all different kinds of people at all different levels of consciousness. It is meant to help elevate people at whatever standard they're at. It's supposed to help elevate them. And therefore, in the Vedic literatures, there are many different directions. There are divisions of the Vedic literatures which are especially meant for people in the mode of ignorance. There's a division for those in the mode of passion. There's a division for those in the mode of goodness. And there are also directions for those who want to go beyond, who are ready to go beyond the modes of material nature. So sometimes even within the Vedic literatures there are apparently contradictory directions. For instance, we find on the battle of Kurukshetra, in the middle of the great fight, when already 16 days are over. Already 16 days are over and Arjuna has already killed thousands and thousands of people. And then Krishna has a philosophical discussion with Arjuna and tells him that killing is not good. Because in a fit of anger and madness, Arjuna was preparing to kill his own brother Yudhishthira. So Krishna told Arjuna, killing is not good. Don't kill Yudhishthira. Now go and kill Karna. So is killing good or not good? It becomes a dilemma.
Это становится дилеммой.
Similarly, we find in the Shiva Purana, there is a direction how to kill an animal and eat meat. How to eat meat according to the Vedic directions. And we are following the Vedic literatures and we are telling, don't eat meat. So someone else may say, why not eat meat? In the Vedas it says you can eat meat. So how to resolve all these things? Therefore one should know what is the ultimate purpose of the Vedas. Factually, in this material world, there is no fixed standard of morality. What is right and what is wrong. Vete bhadra bhadra gyan shakali shaman. E bhalo e manda shab manodharam. This in Chaitanya Charitamrita is said that on the material platform, what we think is good or bad, it's all the same. It's all simply on the mental platform. Just like, for instance, cold water. Taking bath in cold water in the winter is horrible. I think all the devotees in this temple have good experience. But in the summer, it's very pleasant. It's the same water, same temperature. But in terms of our own capacity to appreciate, we appreciate it differently. But factually, cold water or not cold, summer or winter, factually, it really doesn't make any difference. It doesn't make any difference to the eternal soul. So all the Vedic directions, they are meant to lead us to surrender to Krishna. What is Krishna's pleasure, that is the actual standard of right and wrong. However, that is the most exalted platform. And as long as we haven't reached that platform, we have to follow the Vedic rules of morality. And one should come up to at least to the standard of the mode of goodness. Now in the mode of ignorance, one may have a desire to eat meat. One will have a desire to eat meat. So the Shiva Purana gives direction for eating meat for those who are in the mode of ignorance. It doesn't say that eating meat is good, but it is recognized that some people are such rascals that anyway they're going to eat meat. So it gives them some way they can eat meat, still they'll be within the Vedic injunctions. It doesn't free them from the sin of eating meat, but it restricts their meat eating. And it teaches them to follow the Vedic injunctions so that they might gradually be elevated. The process is that on the new moon night, that means when it's very dark outside at night, one may take an unimportant animal such as a goat. One may take a less important animal such as a goat, not a cow. And taking that goat to a distant place away from any residence, one may offer that goat to the goddess Kali. And he has to say some mantra while he's offering this to Kali. So in that mantra the word mangsa is mentioned. Mangsa means meat. Yeah, in the mantra the word mangsa is mentioned. So that word means meat. That is derived from the two words mam and saha, which means me and he. The idea is that in this life, me is killing he. Next life, he is killing me. Doing this, you can do this maximum once a month, those who want to be meat eaters. So it's considered that anyone who is doing that, at some point in time he's going to come to his consciousness. At some point in time he's going to realize what he's doing. That I'm going to be a goat in my next life and have my throat cut. So in the Vedic literatures, there is direction, you can do this, but with the idea to pull you away from that bad habit. So in the Vedic literatures you'll find all different kinds of things recommended. In some places you'll find it said that the worship of Indra is the best. In some places you'll find it said that the worship of Chandra is the best. In some places you'll find it said that to cultivate knowledge and merge into the impersonal Brahma Jyoti, that is the best. This is just to encourage people who are at a certain level. And those who do not know the actual conclusion of Vedic knowledge, they say that all the paths are the same. So there may be different opinions, but when Sri Krishna gives his opinion, that is final. Because Krishna is the object of the Vedic knowledge. As stated in the Bhagavad-gita. Bhagavad-gita is accepted by all the followers of the Vedas as the very essence of the Vedic knowledge. Saravopanishado gavo. This Bhagavad-gita is the essence of all the Upanishads. The Upanishads are the essence of Vedic knowledge, and the Gita is the essence of the Upanishads. Yaswayam padmanabhasya mukha padbad vinisrita. It is the best of all Vedic knowledge because it is directly spoken by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And in the Gita, Krishna declares that all Vedic knowledge is meant for understanding Him. Vedaischa sarver aham eva vedyaha. This means, Ved means knowledge. I think in Russian there's also the same word, is it not? Someone was telling me.
No.
So knowledge, Veda means knowledge. So Vedyaha means that which is to be known, which is the object of knowledge. So Krishna says, Vedaischa sarver aham eva Vedyaha. In all the Vedas, I am the object of knowledge. Vedanta krit vedavit eva chaham. Jai Gaurnitai. Just as a point of information, Prabhupada several times said that during class, if the curtains of the deities are opened or closed, the devotees can just do pranam mudra, like this, put their hands like this, so the flow of the hearing and chanting is not disturbed. So Vedanta Krit, Krishna is the compiler of the Vedanta. In his incarnation of Vyasadeva, Lord Krishna has compiled the Vedanta. All the essence of Vedic knowledge is there in Vedanta. Veda means knowledge and Anta means the end. So after going through all the Vedic literature, all the Vedic knowledge, one has to come to Vedanta.
Yeah.
And Krishna is the compiler of the Vedanta. And Vedavit, he is the knower of the Vedas. Sorry? It means he is the knower of the Vedas. So Krishna's opinion is final. There may be so many different opinions about what to do and what not to do. And different followers of the Vedas may give different explanations. But when Krishna says, we have to accept that his opinion is the topmost, it is final. Just like Prabhupada told one story. There was one book called Shah Jahan. Now this is a historical novel. Shah Jahan was a Muslim emperor of medieval India. And his son was the famous or infamous Aurangzeb. So the book starts off, Shah Jahan, he's the emperor. And then Aurangzeb, his son, arrests him and puts him in prison. And Aurangzeb becomes the emperor. And the whole of the rest of the book is about all the atrocities of Aurangzeb, with little or no mention more of Shah Jahan. So the person who wrote this book, his friend asked him, why did you call this book Shah Jahan? The friend of the author of the book asked the author, why did you call this book Shah Jahan? You should have called it Aurangzeb, because the whole book is about Aurangzeb. But the author replied, no. The purpose of the book is that Shah Jahan is in prison and he's lamenting about the atrocities of his son. So the point that Prabhupada made is that the author of the book knows the purpose of the book. So similarly, in all the Vedic literatures, there may be so many different things said. And different people may have different opinions what it's all about. But when the author of the book says, this is the purpose of the book, then that's final. So in the subject of Vedic knowledge, when Krishna gives his opinion, that is final. And what is Krishna's opinion? Krishna's opinion is Bhagavad-gita. And in Bhagavad-gita, Lord Krishna says different things. But what is his final word? Savago hyatamam bhuya shruno me paramam vacha. At the end of Bhagavad-gita, Krishna says, now I'm going to tell you the most secret and confidential of all knowledge. That is my final word. It is the topmost instruction. And what is that? Can anyone say? What is the topmost instruction of Bhagavad-gita? There's two verses coming after this. What? Two verses. What are the verses? There's one verse before that. Manmana bhava madbhakto madhyaji mang namaskaru mame vaishyasi satyante pratijane priyosimi sarvadhaman parityadya mamekam sharanam raja ahang tvang sarvapapebhyo mokshayashami mashucha. This is the essence. Krishna says, always think of me. Become my devotee. Bow down to me, worship me. If you just do these things, you will come to me. I promise you this because you are my very dear friend. Abandon all varieties of religion and simply surrender to me. I will protect you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear, Krishna says. So very simple, very straightforward. The Vedic literature, it is a vast ocean. It's like a vast ocean. And that is the Vedic literature. Then what to speak about different human opinions outside the Vedic literature? There are so many people saying so many things. So instead of going to so many people and asking so many opinions, if we simply take Krishna's opinion, then we are sure to be correct. Because Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But he doesn't make mistakes. His opinion is always correct. So Krishna has given us this very good advice to surrender to him only. And here elsewhere in the Bhagavad-gita, Krishna gives direction about renunciation, about charity, about sacrifice, about so many different things. Krishna gives us the basic direction to surrender to him. And he also gives us details how to live in this material world so that we can live peacefully and remember him. Peacefully as much as possible. Complete peace is not possible in this material world. In Arjuna's case, there was no question of peace. He had to fight for Krishna. But for most people, they're not being asked to fight. They're simply being asked to live life as simply as possible and remember Krishna and serve Krishna and chant his holy names. But again the question may come, well, I'm not Arjuna, Krishna is not in front of me. So what to do on a day-to-day basis? We have to make so many decisions what to do in our lives. How we can know what to do. So therefore Krishna has given us the Vedic knowledge And the system is, in Vedic society, there should be brahmanas. Brahmanas are people who are much conversant with the Vedic literature, and they're also purified by their practice of religious life and austerities. So brahmanas, they guide people how to live their daily lives, what to do and what not to do in every situation. Sometimes it can be very perplexing. Just like there's another story in the Mahabharata that is told by Krishna, that there was one man who had made a vow that he will always tell the truth. He will never tell any lie. So he lived at the side of the river, and near the river there was a big wood, a big clump of trees. So he became famous as a very truthful person. But actually he didn't have very deep knowledge of the Vedas, or not very deep wisdom. So one day he was just standing outside his house, and some people came running. They said, "Help, we're running away from some thieves. They want to steal all our money. What shall we do?" So the man said, "Well, if you want, you could hide in the trees." He said, "If you want, you could hide in the trees." So they went to hide in the trees.
Inside.
So the people, they were running away, they went to hide in the trees.
Inside the trees.
In the wood. It means in the wood.
Oh.
That's an English idiom. When it says in the translation can be difficult sometimes. That's an English idiom. In the trees means not inside the trees, but among the trees. Problems of language. So then a few minutes later the robbers came. So they said, "Did you see any people running away? We are robbers and we want to steal their money." So the man said, "Well, I can't tell a lie. Yes, I did see them." "So where did they go?" "I can't tell a lie. They're hiding in the trees." So the robbers said, "Pasiba, thank you very much." And they ran into the trees and found those people, killed them and took all their money. So the man was very truthful. But in this case it would have been better to be untruthful. So sometimes we can't tell exactly what to do. In the Vedic literature it says we should be truthful. But sometimes we don't know, should we be truthful or not truthful? This Brahmin who was being truthful, he protected his vow to remain truthful. But as a result, the innocent people were killed. The robbers to kill those innocent people. So what to do in every exact circumstance? Therefore we have brahmanas and spiritual masters. The spiritual master is the representative of Krishna, who gives us advice how to practically live according to Bhagavad-gita. So the Vedic literatures we have to study, and how to practically live according to the Vedas we have to learn from an expert follower of the Vedas. Tadvidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshanti te jnanam jnaninas tattvadarshana. One has to approach tattvadarshana. Means, actually this word is in the plural, it means those who are knowers of the truth. So humbly, with service, in an inquiring mood, one should approach tattvadarshis, knowers of the truth, to know how to live in this world so that one may be elevated. Elevated ultimately to the platform of Krishna consciousness, and so that one may be protected against becoming degraded. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Is there any question?
Could you tell please about the use, the value of the celibacy, and how to stop meditating on multitudes?
First of all, is there any question about this class?
No.
We're discussing some different philosophical points in the class. So it's to fully understand these more, it's good if we discuss these points first. About the question which was just asked, someday with the brahmacharis. With the brahmacharis and brahmacharinis and grihastas and whoever wants also. So if you want to work that out with the temple authorities, who's that, Sucharu?
Поэтому, если вы хотите организовать такую встречу, то нужно обратиться к авторитетам, к Сучару Прабху или еще к старшим преданным.
Because that's supposed to be my speciality. I wrote a book about that, so I'm supposed to know something about it. Alright, there's a question about the class from Yagya Devi Dasi.
She has addition. Commentary.
Additional commentary. Alright.
About when the Krishna consciousness movement was persecuted in the first year in this country, the devotees were brought to the militia, to the police, to the KGB, and one mother of the devotee gave the moral instructions to the devotees, saying you must be truthful, and she herself told all the colleagues of the KGB about the details of the devotees' association with others, and as a result, her son was put into the jail at first.
Yeah, so that's an example of foolish truthfulness. Actually, if we were always completely truthful, this Krishna consciousness movement wouldn't have spread all over the world. Just like when our devotees come to Russia, in those days, if they, at the immigration, if they ask, what have you come for? They said, I've come to speak on Bhagavad-gita. They would tell you, you see that plane standing there? You can get right back on it now. So devotees just say, come as a tourist. Sometimes we have to do things which may not seem to be the best thing to so-called moral people. The highest moral is to spread Krishna consciousness. As much as possible, we stick to all ordinary moral principles. As much as possible, we stick to all ordinary moral principles. But the highest moral principle is to serve Krishna. That is shown by the gopis, who they broke all moral principles by leaving their families and their husbands and running to Krishna. Now, of course, none of us are in a position to imitate the gopis. But at least philosophically we should understand what is the position of morality. The highest morality is to do whatever is pleasing to Krishna.
Could you tell please about the philosophical meaning of the obeisances?
Anything more about this class, first of all? Does anybody else have any more questions about this class? Yeah, alright, so there's no more questions about the class.
Is there any renunciation which surpasses the qualities of the material nature?
Of course. Our whole movement is based on that. That is called Yukta Vairagya. Does anyone know that verse? A very important verse on which our whole Krishna conscious movement is running on. Anyone knows? Anasaktasya? Anyone knows? Say it in Russian then. Translation? Got the wrong verse. Particular verse is Anasaktasya Vishayan Yataham Upayanjataha Nirbhanga Krishna Sambandhe Yuktam Vairagya Muchyate. You should all start to learn some verses. This is an important part of Krishna consciousness, to learn some verses. You can write down on cards and carry one around with you. And then during the day you look at it 10, 15 times. Try and learn some verses. So anyway, the meaning of this verse is that one should not be attached to anything of this material world for sense gratification. However, one should be able to use everything in this world understanding its relationship with Krishna. One should use everything in Krishna's service. Now, if we say, I'm renounced, I don't want this microphone. But I don't want this microphone for my sense gratification. I don't want this microphone to make political speeches. I don't want this microphone to sing rock and roll songs. But I can use this microphone to speak the message of Bhagavad-gita as a service to my spiritual master in his service to Krishna. That means I'm not attached to the microphone for my own sense gratification, but I can use it in the service of Krishna. So that is called Yuktam Vairagyam. That means that one is renounced, but still he's able to use everything in Krishna's service. So that is renunciation beyond the three modes of material nature. This boy had a question. Purify the consciousness. What's the answer? Who can say? Nobody can. I mean, what are we all doing here?
Chanting Hare Krishna.
What are we all doing here?
Что мы здесь
We're all here to
делаем?
purify the consciousness by chanting Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Any other questions?
What could you say about the devotees who transfer themselves into Gaudiya Math, who move to the Gaudiya Math, leave their spiritual master and get the initiation from someone there? Что можно сказать о преданных, которые ходят из Искона в Гаудия Матх, оставляют своего духовного учителя и получают посвящение в Гаудия Матх?
Oh, Puri Maharaj. That means they were initiated by Bhagavan and this and that. Yeah. By who? Which Puri Maharaj? There's two Puri Maharajas. Anyway, if your spiritual master is there and you go and accept initiation from someone else, that's a very offensive thing to do. It's not a question of Gaudiya Mata or this Mata or any other Mata. Basic etiquette. If you're initiated by a spiritual master, how can you go to another spiritual master? If your spiritual master is bogus and tells you to eat meat, that's something else. If he's teaching you according to the parampara, then it's completely against all etiquette. It's very offensive to go and take it. Actually, I never heard. It's the first time I heard such a thing. I don't know. It's very difficult to know. It's very difficult to think that anyone would reinitiate someone who's already initiated. I don't know if that's true, but if it is true, it's not very good. All right, any other question? What's the question? Where is it mentioned in the Bhagavad-gita? Which verse? See, I'm not a walking encyclopedia. I don't know every single line and every single...
Еще уточните, какое это место.
If you bring the verse and show, then we can have a look and see.
It is...
Why don't you show the reference and we can have a look, alright? Then we can have Arti now? Alright, so we'll finish the... One more? No? Time up. If anyone wants to ask any more questions afterwards, they can also. I'm ready. So, yeah, we'll have the Arti. Let's have Arti now. Jai Shri Shri Gaur Nitai ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.